My name is Ben Pollock, and I'm going to teach you how to fix a flat tire. First things first, you will need a bike with a flat tire, a basic patch kit for a bike. They're only a few bucks, you can buy them at any local bike store, and 2 tire levers. Again, just a couple bucks, you can buy them at any bike store. Alright, so as you can see, this tire is completely out of air, it is completely flat. First thing I have to do is take the wheel off the bike. This bike has a quick release lever, as most bikes do, which makes it very simple. If you don't, you just use a wrench, unscrew the wrenches, and slides right off like that. As you can see, the tire is now, the whole wheel is now off the bike. To remove the tire from the wheel, you have to take your first tire lever. Make sure it is completely opposite from the valve right here. So I'm going to put it in right up at the top right here. You have to get it under the tire like that. Boom. And hook it on right there to one of the spools. You have to make sure that this little ring that's attached to the valve is unscrewed, because you're going to be taking off the inner tube from the wheel. So this right here comes off, and that just keeps the valve in place coming out of the frame of the wheel. Alright, now that is off, I'm going to put my second tire lever also under the tire, a little ways down. Just like that. So you can see now this part of the tire is completely out of the frame of the wheel. And I'm just going to slide as much as I can. It does take a little bit of physical work. There we go. Slide it along the rim just like that. Now as you can see, this side of the tire is the whole side of the tire is completely out of the wheel. Now that I have one side off, I obviously need to get the other side of the tire off the frame. This part is the hardest part to do. You're going to need a lot of strength to get this part out over the frame. I find it helpful to use the tire lever for this part as well, although you don't need to. So once I get this, and it is off. So now, as you can see, the tire and the inner tube that is inside of the tire, which you might have not even known even existed, will slide right out. Make sure that you don't bend the valve at the bottom when you slide it out. Just straight out like that. So, because when you have a flat tire, what it actually is a hole in the inner tube. So all of the air that is in the inner tube, which this thing blows up, and there's a lot of air pressure inside the tube, which makes your tire so hard, I guess. And when you have a flat tire, the inner tube has been punctured. So the first thing you have to do is you have to locate where the hole on the inner tube is. So the first thing I'm going to do is hook up my bike pump right onto the valve, just like you do when your bike's fine, when you're pumping up your bike, just like that. I'm going to pump it up. I'm going to listen where the air is escaping from. And there, I've located the hole. You can feel the air coming out as well. That hissing sound is the air escaping from the hole right there. Now that I've located where the puncture is on the inner tube, I'm going to remove the pump from the valve, and I'm going to mark using a pen just right on the inner tube where the hole is. So it's right there. So I'm just going to circle that so I can find it easier later. The next thing you need is your patch toolkit. Inside the toolkit you will find a small container of vulcanizing fluid, which is basically like glue for your inner tube. you will find sandpaper, and you will find the patches. The first thing I'm going to use is the sandpaper. I'm going to take the sandpaper, and I'm going to take the inner tube. I'm going to locate where I marked the hole, and I'm just going to rub down the spot around the hole. And the purpose of this is to make the tube very smooth around that area. So I'm just going to rub this down for about 30 seconds to a minute right now, trying to make the tube as smooth as possible. Now that I've sanded down the surrounding area of the puncture very well, I'm going to take the vulcanizing fluid, uncap it. I'm going to dab a small amount directly on the puncture, just like that. And using this, I'm going to just wipe it on, just like that, in a circle. It has very, very strong smell, so try not to smell it and try not to touch it as well. Don't spread it around with your hands, just spread it around with the tip of the bottle, like so. So that's what you have now. So when using vulcanizing fluid, you actually wait until it's completely dry until you put the patch on. So right now, I'm going to blow on it and just wait until it's completely dry. So now I take the patch from the patch kit. There's a plastic layer on top of the patch, peel it off, and with the plastic comes the patch, as you can see there. So throw that aside, and I'm going to place the center of the patch directly on the puncture on the inner tube, like so. Now that I've waited a little bit for the patch to secure itself onto the inner tube, it's time to test if the patch is working. I'm going to take the bike pump again, reattach it to the valve of the inner tube, and I'm going to pump it up to make sure all the holes are closed. So when I pumped it up before to test whether this patch had worked, I found another hole right here, so I just patched that one up. Now as you can see, this one still has the plastic on and this one does not. When you put the patch on, you can leave the plastic on the inner tube if you want to. It doesn't really make a difference. It can actually, if you're not careful, taking the plastic off can actually kind of pull the patch off. So I would actually recommend not taking the plastic off, but it just looks a little bit cleaner if you do pull the plastic off. So now I'm going to test the tube again, making sure that both patches are holding correctly. Pump that up, and yep, everything's good. So now I completely deflated the inner tube again, and I'm going to just put it right back inside the tire like it was before. So now I have the tire with the inner tube in it, and I'm going to take the lever on top of my hand like this, and I'm going to find the hole on the frame of the wheel where the lever goes through it. And I'm just going to feed the the valve I meant. I'm going to feed the valve right through that hole, just like that. And now I have the valve through the hole. Now I'm just going to feed the tire into the frame, like that. You're going to have to use some strength here in this part as well. So now I have successfully put the tire with the inner tube in it back on the frame like this. As you can see, the inner tube is still completely deflated. So now I'm going to pump the tire back up, put the pump right on the valve again, like that, and when that's done, close the valve back up. This little piece, the nut, right back on the valve. Now all you have to do from here is put the wheel back on the frame of the bike. Just pick up the bike and put the fork right back on. Tighten the quick release. You're done.